Right. Here we go. It's time for yet another installment of of the Game Roulette Awards. They're here again. Thanks for playing me on. Also, here's hold on. I need the theme music. Yeah, there it is again. I keep using the Price is Right music for some reason, even though this isn't a game show. It's an awards show. Oh, there's yeah. The air horns are there. There's the audience applause and everything. Wow. Wow. What an audience. You're too kind. Yes, everybody's so excited for this one. Anyway, I do that. I've done that gag for like the last two Game Roulette Awards where I'm like, oh, I'd better dress all formally for this one. I'd better put on like a formal looking hat, and then I have like the goofy cat-eared hat. Well, okay, not this time. We're gonna do something a little different here. Okay, now I'm ready, obviously. Okay. The fake ass Price is Right theme just ended. So somebody roasted me in the last chat saying I looked like an ice cream truck guy. And I fear that my new shirt and bow tie combo didn't do anything to make that better. Let's just try this one. I don't know this game. I never played Croc. It does sound kind of like the Price is Right music, though. Suspiciously. Alright, but anyway. What I'm here to do tonight is to honor all of the great games that I played on the last, 6 months or so of Game Roulette streams. And, I will also probably dishonor the games that were not good. In the past, I've done these, every 10 streams. Every time I do 10 Game Roulettes, I would, I would do the awards show after, 10 streams. But a few months started going by after I had decided, maybe I'll just do these once a year. And I was like, man, this is getting to be a really big pile of games. So I decided to make it an every 6 months kind of thing, especially since I've started doing Game Roulettes once a week. And I have not broken that streak for how many weeks? 22 weeks in a row now, which is pretty great. It's too bad I have such a huge delay because you're in a different part of the world. Yeah, that is a shame. But anyway, yeah, so it's been probably about 6 months since I last did a Game Roulette stream or award stream, and it's probably going to be another 6 months before I do another award stream. So it's been, let me see, almost half a year's worth of weekly streams. So I've got quite a lot to draw on now. There was something like 80 or 90 games in the pool for this time. So the tradition for the last two awards shows was that I would do an actual Game Roulette after the awards, but with so many games this time, I don't think I'll be able to. So I'm probably just going to, do a nice little retrospective here and then be done for the night. I'm also working on another YouTube video about some manga, so that'll hopefully be going up soon. And I'll also be putting this on YouTube like I usually do. But anyway, let me jump right into the awards. I probably should have checked back on past awards shows and seen what order I tended to do things in, because I can't remember if I saved the the highest award for the end, or if I just did it straight off rip. So I'm probably gonna like save the highest recommendation for the end. I feel like there's enough games in here now that I should save those for like the finale. Well, the semi-finale, because I want to do like all of the unremarkables after the awards. Those are going to be like stream exclusive or stream archive exclusive. You won't be able to see those on the YouTube video that I'm going to put up. So make sure you, if anybody's watching this on YouTube in the future, make sure you follow me on Twitch. And if you're watching it on my regular channel, then go subscribe to my stream archive also. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, oh god, hold on. This is the text left over from last time. I have to change it. It's not time for the unremarkables. Oh god, hold on. What's my first award? Best single sitting game. Let's go with that. Who's excited for the best single... No. It's not. No, it's not time to die. Who's excited for the best single sitting game? Yeah. Everybody can't wait to hear that. Oh boy. Okay, so, as is usually the custom, I'm going to indicate all of the runner-ups first, and then there'll be, like, the top winner after that. So, let me see. Let me pull up the first one. If I can remember how to do this. It's been so long. Just a moment. I swear I have all of the clips prepared. I just have to navigate to the folder and pull them up. Okay, so all the runner-ups, I'm just going to put them in alphabetical order. So there's no, like, preferential treatment here. Where's that first one? Hold on. Oh god, what's it called? There are so many games in this folder. Okay. Runner-up number 1. There it is. Oh god, hold on. It's taking up the whole screen. There we go. Oh no. Oh no, I'm moving everything. Oh no, I have everything selected. This is a mess. This is a sham of an awards show. But this one was Basket Bell. This one was great. Let's hear it for Basket Bell. Yeah. This one, I beat the whole game in a single sitting, probably like 30 minutes. And it starts out... hold on. I didn't set it to loop either. Hold on. Loop. It's also... Oh god, hold on. Did the whole thing just crash? My OBS whole window is frozen. Oh no. Don't tell me the whole stream just crashed. I did not close the stream. Can you still hear me? Or no? Did I go offline? Oh no. Oh no. I don't think it's picking up my mic at all. Oh my god. Am I back? Oh god. Okay. Okay, it looks like I'm back online. That was really scary. I thought the whole award show just crashed. Okay, whew. Yeah, there was something wrong with the system, clearly. But I'm back online. Okay, anyway. Barring any further technical difficulties, to go on about Basket Bell here. This was a good, 30-minute single-sitting game. It starts out as kind of like a basketball-themed puzzle platformer, but it ends up doing a whole lot of cool stuff with the format, and not just having you solve puzzles, but also play short little basketball matches against various boss enemies and such. And it had a neat little story. It was a whole thoroughly nice experience. I did crash briefly. OBS basically just froze for a minute and scared the crap out of me. But it should be good and online now. Okay. Next runner-up. Let me load that up and hopefully OBS doesn't completely crash again. Where's this game? Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Let me load this one up. It's probably, yep, it's going to be full screen again. Okay, there we go. This one was called Kopoka. That one was pretty cool. It's a game where you play as a bird, which on its own was like pretty cool. I mean, it was pretty cool just like flying through the air in this like country landscape, but also kind of a cityscape. You're looking for shiny objects. It has kind of a story that unravels as you go and like stand near human NPCs, but I wasn't that interested in that story. I just liked, that feeling of flying around as a bird and looking for shiny things. It was kind of cool. I'm surprised there's not more games like that. So that was another good single sitting game. Yeah. Let's hear it for Kopolka. That was a cool one. Yeah, wow. I said in the last Game Roulette stream that I wanted to edit like the names of these games like as an overlay on all the clips, and I completely forgot to do that this time. So maybe next time I'll remember to do that. My third runner-up for best single-sitting game, and there's going to be 4 runners-up since I had so many games this time. We're going to have, boom, Rainy Season. This one was pretty cool. It's basically like you're at home on a rainy day with your family in Japan. Pretty laid back, pretty cool. It's like a very mundane setting, but it ends up having like a lot of like surprisingly imaginative imagery in it. And another like really quick thing that I was able to get done with in about 45 minutes. Definitely like a satisfying time and like very chill, very, again, laid back. Really liked that one. Had a great atmosphere, maybe more than like any other game I played. That's another runner-up there. Oh god, I'm running out of space on the screen for all these great runners-up. And by the way, if I haven't said so already, every runner-up is also a winner in my book. Just being nominated is enough of an award. Definitely worth your time. All right, hold on. Next one. Let me find it. Where is it? There we go. Refunked is the next one. Instead of adding all the videos onto OBS, maybe put all the videos in there beforehand in order. Oh, geez. I mean, I could do that, but then I would have a list of like 50 videos to like show and like hide and reveal. That would be a really long list. And I think it's easier this way, because that way I just, override the clips that are already there. But anyway, Refunked, this was like a really simple game. It's just a 3D platformer. Somebody in chat that day described it as an asset game, which, like, yeah, it's just some very simply textured cubes, and you just jump around on each cube and change it from a white cube into a green cube. But, I love me some cubes, so it was pretty fun. Cube, indeed. And, it had a nice ending. Here's the ending right there. You zoom out and you see all the platforms you were jumping on turned out to be hearts. I forgot to set one of these clips to loop. There it is. So it was refunked. It's only like a $2 or $3 game, so like if you buy it, I can't say that's a bad use of your money. Hold on, what did I just... Hold on, I'm trying to shrink it. There it is. Okay. There's Refunked. That one was cool. And, okay, the final one in this category, like the actual winner that I'm going to declare here. Let me pull that one up. There it is. This one's Bleed 2. All right, let's hear it for Bleed 2. Wow, wow. What a great game. A new overlay? That's also a good idea, actually. Hell yeah. But I played both Bleed 1 and Bleed 2 for the game Roulettes, and they were both pretty great. But Bleed 2 just basically improved on Bleed 1 in like every possible way. And the really fun thing in both of those streams was like a guy came into the chat who was like a Bleed speedrunner who just, likes to pop into streamers playing the game and like talk about it. And so that was really fun. He happened to show up in both Bleed 1 and Bleed 2, and probably none of my streams since then, but that's fine anyway. Bleed 2 was great. It was a blast. It's just, good old-fashioned run-and-gun game, but, fun boss fights and a cool, like, attack deflecting mechanic. I really loved this one. So more than anything, I would say this was like the best single-sitting game that I played. But yeah, Bleed 1 also gets an honorable mention, because they're both short enough to play all the way through in one sitting, but the real fun comes from, like, repeating the game and, like, mastering it. So let's hear it for all of these. Wow. Wow, what a great bunch of games. Wow, wow, wow. Love it. I love them all. Clap. Clap indeed. Yeah, I could use a new overlay for the game Roulettes. Let me move on to the next category here. Oh, you know what? I just thought of a... so this wasn't even in my list of awards I should do, but let me do a quick award here. Best birthday boy. Who's gonna win this one? Let me show you real quick. Wow, there he is. His name's Emrun. Wow, what a good birthday boy. You mentioned that it was your birthday on the 27th of November when I'm doing this stream, so happy birthday. You win the award for being in like a bunch of my streams and being a really dedicated chatter, so I really appreciate that, and like helping me through the games when I get stuck, so wanted to take a second and give a shout out for that one. So there's a special impromptu award. Wow. Okay, let me move on to the next one. There was only one contestant in that category, but I mean, like I said, every nominee is also a winner. So the next one I want to do is played further after the stream was over. There we go. Yeah, you can put that award on your Steam page for the Steam page of the game that is your life. There's your endorsement. All right, now this one, it's kind of it's a different award because I don't pick like an explicit winner for this one. Basically, this is just to let you know these are all the games that were good enough for me to continue playing after the stream was over. So they're just going to be in alphabetical order. First one up here is Anodyne. This one was a pretty cool, intriguing little game. Kind of, like a retro-style Zelda-esque game. Had like puzzle solving and fighting enemies. But the really cool thing was just that it had some really like interesting environments. There was a point in the game where like I kicked a dude off of a pier and like went down after him into a kind of blood dimension. A very like unexpected turn of events in the game, but I was just like so intrigued that I had to see more of it. And yeah, it had, dungeons like this and puzzle solving. I haven't actually like completed the game. Oh hey, somebody just subscribed. Crazy Gamer 646. Thank you. What a great time to subscribe. in the middle of the awards show. I love that. But yeah, I actually got distracted from this game because I got my Steam Deck in the mail like when I was in the middle of playing it, so I got very distracted. Still, it was a good game. I should go back and finish it one of these days, but definitely like it gave me enough of an intrigue that I had to play more of it. Let's hear it for Anodyne. Yeah, good times. Good times for good games. And the next winner in this category, let me find that one. Ooh, yeah, this is a good one. Spoiler alert, this one might be a multi-award winner, but we got Lifeless Planet on here. I feel like I've heard of a game with a similar name to Anodyne. Maybe Anodyne 2, possibly. There are 2 of those games. But yeah, round of applause for Lifeless Planet here. Not a lot of people watched this one. I don't think anybody was in the first stream that I did of it in the actual game roulette. But this was like one of my favorite games that I played for game roulettes in the year. I just basically could not stop singing its praises the whole time I was playing it. And like it was so good at environmental storytelling and like getting me invested in the game without like bogging me down with information and just giving me like really cool vistas to explore. Not like the greatest graphics you've ever seen, I'm sure, but it does a lot with a little, and it just kept me so intrigued that I actually not only played, but streamed the entire game. This one was great. This will not be the last time I'm talking about Lifeless Planet in the awards show, I'm sure. Let's give it another round of applause there. Wow. While I load up the next game that I played after the stream was over. Wow, they really love Lifeless Planet. Clap. Alright, next one that I played beyond the stream was called Mages of Mistralia. This one was pretty cool, just kind of like a isometric 3D action game. I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe. But it had a lot of puzzle solving, a little bit of combat. Another one that I didn't quite finish, I got like a little tired of it, honestly, after a few more sessions, but it had a really strong start with just like innovative puzzles and a pretty cool spell casting system. It had like a way to customize your spells to give them like different actions and properties that they could do. But I think the main thing that kept me from like finishing the game was that the combat got kind of repetitive. But still, it made a great first impression. I still enjoyed that one quite a bit, especially like on the game roulette itself. That was probably like game of the night when I got to that one. But let's hear it for Mages of Mistralia while I locate the next one. All right. That's enough of that one. Another one I played after the stream was over was Solitarica. This one was something I got in a free Epic Games Store giveaway. Just a pretty cool little like solitaire card game with the roguelike elements and stuff. It's, I was commenting as I played it that it's a great just pick up and play kind of game. And so, I picked it up and played it a few more times after the stream was over. Not a whole lot more I can say about that, just that like it's simple gameplay, but just really satisfying to click on those cards. So, yep. Let's hear it for Solitarica. It was pretty cool. Pretty creative pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Had a good time with that one. Just move that over there. And the last one... Again, these are in no particular order. The last one is not necessarily the winner. But here it is. Wander Song was yet another game that I played after finishing the stream. And Wander Song is not only a game that I played more of, but a game that I played to completion. And just like Lifeless Planet, I'm sure this is not the last time in tonight's awards show that you're going to be hearing about Wander Song. It had a really good sense of humor and a pretty cool puzzle system, but I will definitely be talking more at length about that one in another category. So let's give it a round of applause. Just for now, that's just kind of a teaser of more to come in this awards show. I think I heard a voice in the applause clip that I've been using, and that's weird to me. Yeah, like I said, in a past roulette stream, I've got this I thought I heard a voice, and I'm using this 30-minute clip of audience applause sounds. So I'm at 19 minutes into it. So there might be unknown further sounds in it. But yeah, I mentioned before, it has these hashtags above the video. It says hashtag soundscape, hashtag people, and hashtag clap for yourself. And so I like to imagine some people just have this video bookmarked and they pull it up from time to time and just listen to people clap and pretend that it's for them. Which is kind of exactly what I'm doing right now, actually. But mine's completely different because I'm running an awards show. They're not just clapping for me, it's for every game here. So next category, most pleasant surprise. This is, for games that I went into thinking they were not going to be hot shit at all, games that I didn't think I would care about the least bit, and ended up having surprisingly a lot more fun. So I'm going to do the same thing again where I list the runners-up in alphabetical order, and then the actual winner will be the last one. So this is a repeat game. I didn't think there would be so many repeats since I got a bigger pool of games this time, but some of them were just so good I got to talk about them multiple times. I'm bringing in Basket Bell again. So I don't really care about sports games in my normal life. Oh, the game I thought was similarly named was Paradigm. Okay, I don't know about that one at all. I don't think I ever heard of that. But yeah, I kind of thought Basket Bell was going to be mostly a basketball/sports game. And so when it brought in all this puzzle platforming and genre bending and stuff, and actual story beats that I genuinely cared about by the end, even in as short of a game as it was, I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. So I would say, check this one out. Or, you can even just watch my stream of it, I guess, and see the whole game. But if you don't want to put up with my scrub amateur gameplay, then I would say play it for yourself. So let's hear it for Basket Bell and for playing games well. Oh, whoa. Thanks for the 1,000 bits. That's awesome. That's equivalent to 1,000 US dollars, isn't it? I think that's the case. Anyway, I'm rich now. Awards show over because I have made bank. Now, next game on the list is... Here we go. It's Iratus. I think the full title was like Iratus, Lord of the Dead. I had zero expectations going into this one because like I had never heard of it in the least bit, and it turned out to be really intriguing and cool. The aesthetic, I don't know if I care for it especially, but you can definitely tell like a lot of work went into this one. It was a pretty cool, I don't know, not really like card battler exactly, but it's kind of like party-based roguelite-esque RPG. It kind of has a mechanic similar to like Slay the Spire where you pick routes that you go down, but it was a really cool one. I was like surprisingly intrigued by like the strategery that goes into all the battles. So I liked that one quite a lot. I was surprised I never heard anybody talk about it before. So that was a really good find. Now people cannot hold back their applause. All right, now I told you hold on. I told you I would be talking about this one again, but here it is once more. I've got to give credit to Lifeless Planet. This is not the first time I've mentioned it in the awards, and I'm sure it also will not be the last. But yeah, this was another game where I went in with like zero expectations. It had like just like kind of decent Steam reviews, like maybe like 70 or 80% positive, and I was like, when I got into it, I was like, man, how do more people not just like absolutely love this game? But yeah, I don't want to, harp on about it too much, so I'm just gonna like shrink that one down and put it off to the side for later. But anyway, let's give it more applause while I load up the next one. Let's see. Oh yeah. Here's a cool one. So, okay. Hold on. There. A real pleasant surprise was Yoku's Island Express. This one was just a really nice game. Another one where I went in not really expecting it to be much, and it's hard to describe. It's kind of like a pinball adventure. You kind of like control this little dung beetle looking guy who pushes a ball around, but you also use like actual pinball mechanics to navigate sometimes, or to like solve puzzles and stuff. But there was so much to love about this game. Like the little bug you control is like a cute little guy, and you get this noisemaker, which I loved. You could just hit this button and like make noise whenever you felt like it, which is a feature that more games need to have. I used that feature all the time in games like Team Fortress 2 and Overwatch, which my teammates always appreciate. Oh my god. Crazy Gamer has redeemed Change Hat. Okay, I have to pick out a new one. Well, I need to pick out another one that's going to match the occasion. So, like, give me just a second. I'm going to go run to the closet and get one that's, an equally fitting hat for this formal occasion. So, let me just, like, start up the music while I go and do that real quick. BRB. Okay. That didn't take too long. I had to get another one that was, equally fitting to the occasion. Okay. That's enough of that. Actually, a little more applause for the new hat. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, that's okay. Great. This one, the frustrating thing is that the fangs are like way over on the sides. I feel like they should be like more front facing, but I don't know. It's still a great, just world class hat for formal occasions like this one. Anyway, the winner that I'm going to declare as my absolute most pleasant surprise above the others was. Hold on. Right here. This was City of Brass. This one, I just picked it up because it was a free giveaway on Epic Game Store. I found out at some point, like, developers of BioShock worked on this game. And man, this one I had so much fun with. It also, as you can kind of see on the screen right there, it had a Twitch integration. So there was at least one person in chat there who was like spawning enemies for me to fight and spawning treasures that I could pick up. But even without that element, oh yeah, there he is. It's Lord of All Cheese spawning enemies. But it was just like such cool, fun combat. You have like this whip item, and like you could whip weapons out of enemies' hands, or like you could whip their legs to trip them up. You could use it as a grappling hook. There were weapons you could throw. So much like just fun combat all around. Plus it had, the roguelite elements, so it would give you randomized maps and a lot of really fun stuff to play around with. It's another one of those games where like I'm shocked nobody had ever talked to me about this before, because I had so much fun playing this. Let's hear it for that while I prepare the next category. All right. Favorite art direction is going to be the next award. Basically, the game, it's pretty self-explanatory. The games that I thought had the best aesthetics, regardless of how well I enjoyed the game itself. Let me see. Oh, I've only got 4 in this category instead of 5. So let me pull one up here. I'll do the same thing with this one. Alphabetical order for all the runners-up. And by the way, all the runners-up are winners. We got Fostering Apocalypse for my first runner-up here. Really hard to describe the art style in this one, because it's it sort of looks like pixel art at times, but it's also looks like heavily filtered hand-drawn artwork as well. And I just really liked the sort of commitment to its color scheme, how there's a lot of dull grays and browns, but also these sharp red colors throughout the landscape that give it a really creepy air. Plus the use of some actual JPEGs for background art just weirdly add to the grunginess and bizarre atmosphere of the game. So this was a really short one, but it definitely left a lasting impression in terms of its looks. So I'm putting that one down there. Let's hear it for Fostering Apocalypse. All right. The next runner-up in favorite art direction. It was called This Strange Realm of Mine. And to look at it initially, you would probably think, oh, this looks like just a Doom clone, or it looks like Minecraft, or something like that. But the reason I give this one an award was, or, award nomination, basically, was because it had like a really great creativity in like the number of environments that it puts you in. So you start out in like a shitty dark dungeon sewer place, and when I was first starting out in the game, I was like, oh my god, I really hope this isn't the whole game, because it was just like really dull and like hard to see anything. But then it gets you out into like an urban environment, like really unexpectedly. There's also kind of like a tavern hub world, which was cool to be in, a pretty chill little atmosphere where NPCs would gather. And then, yeah, here is this like gorgeous outdoor Minecraft landscape with a lot of like bizarre sights to see. So, while you might be able to look at like any individual piece of art and environment in this game and think, it's like not that impressive, just the overall like variety in environments and like designs and characters and stuff really like elevated it. It's really got like a grab bag of just all kinds of different things going on in it, which is why that one was memorable for me. So that's This Strange Realm of Mine. Pretty cool game. Right. The final runner-up here, it's Valhalla. I'm sure this is a game lots of people have heard of. The cyberpunk bartending visual novel. It's called Valhalla, but it has a very complicated way to actually write the title. This one, I mean, it's just good old-fashioned pixel art. You gotta love it. It's not hiding behind like the theme of retro as an excuse to have like low fidelity graphics. It's actually got like detailed character portraits and a detailed environment in the background, which just goes a really long way for like its world building and makes it just a joy to experience. So this is a game I really want to go back to in the future on my own time. It would be a great Steam Deck game to play, I'm sure. But this one's really cool. I mean, it already has a great reputation. You're probably already very well aware of it, but I had to give it a shout out as well. That's the final runner-up. Oh yeah, and there you can see the title on there in the upper right. That's how you actually write it. It's so obnoxious and hard to remember. I just call it Valhalla. So there you go. Let's hear it for that one. Right. Man, see, I'm really glad I got into this rhythm of like, have the applause going as I look up the file for the next game. It really helps to fill those gaps. I know in the last couple of streams I didn't quite have that down, and so I'd just have to awkwardly pause while I loaded up the next game. Anyway, my absolute favorite art direction out of any of the last games was Devil Daggers. This is another one where I'm hoping its reputation precedes it, but it's just like a super minimalist environment. You're literally just playing the whole game on a single flat plane with a kill zone at the edge, and you're just running around and bunny hopping in circles and trying to shoot every single thing that comes your way. It's another, like low fidelity, low poly type of game, but really like has its aesthetic down. It's all like really dark, really grungy, just a really like unified vision for these skull monsters and satanic looking creatures coming at you in wave after wave in a game that ideally is probably not going to last any longer than 5 minutes. That's if you're really good at the game, you'll last 5 minutes. I never did in the time that I played. So Devil Daggers was gorgeous. I would absolutely be remiss if this was not the winner of the category. So you gotta check that one out. You gotta give that one a round of applause. All right, next category coming up. Coming your way, we've got... Okay, this is going to be an unusual one. Favorite soundtrack. Now, usually I have like no shortage of games I want to include in this category. But this time I was looking through all the games I had played and I was like, kind of a lot of these didn't really leave that much of an impression on me. So, I don't know. I'm only going to have 3 of them this time because there were so many that I looked back on them and I'm like, I don't remember any of the music from this game. So let me, honor a few of them here. And I have prepared clips beforehand of some of the more memorable music from these games. Let's see. First one I'm bringing up is Sound Dodger. And, this is a music game. It is sort of a rhythm game, but really just like music plays and you dodge a bunch of projectiles that come at you. But let's hear a quick clip of that game's music. Just one of its tracks. I don't want to play the music clips for too long because I'm just kind of like, oh man, what if I get copyright stricken for using them in my video? But, for a game that is entirely about music, like, man, it better have a good soundtrack. Like, it kind of hinges on that. And this one did. It was also a game that let you use your own custom soundtrack, but I kind of found out that it doesn't really do that well with custom music. It seems to just kind of throw random projectiles at you if you're using your own custom music. So it wasn't amazing for that, but still, the music that I did get to hear out of it was quite good. Hold on. Let me find my tab where I have the audience. There we go. Let's hear it for that one. Let's hear it for them. All right. And another one to honor here is The End Is Nigh. The music was one of the more memorable things about this game, I felt like. Let me play a bit that I've prepared here. Here's a nice excerpt for you. Yeah, just kind of the really cool recurring theme throughout this game's soundtrack was that it was kind of like a lot of classical themes with, guitar and electronic elements added to it. Like, I remembered there being a track that was based on the Hall of the Mountain King, and that was a really cool one. I could not find that track when I was trying to, look up the soundtrack for this award show, but the one I found here was a track with Flight of the Bumblebee in it, which is also really cool. I enjoyed that quite a lot. Even if the game wasn't one of my favorites, it did have really good music. So let's hear it for that one. Alright, now, my overall favorite soundtrack, and like I said, it was kind of hard to choose something that I was very passionate about in this category, but I'm giving it to Polyroll, or Polyroll, however you say it. This one, I mean, all around, it did a really good job of nailing the feel of being like a retro game. It was very clearly inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog, but it had a good feel to it, and it had a good soundtrack to go along with that retro feel. So here's some of the boss theme music, which I heard many times in the 45 minutes I was playing the game, because I got stuck on one particular boss forever. Anyway, here's that track. So yeah, I mean, it's very much like retro chiptune-y music, but it contributed very well to the game's overall aesthetic and style, so it left a lasting impression, which is great. So give it up for the winner in this category. It's Polyroll, or Polyroll, or whatever. Give it up for that. Oh, there it is. There's that boss I was stuck on forever. It sucked. But I did finally win. Somebody talked in the clapping clip again. I don't know what they're saying, but I don't like it. I don't appreciate them talking over my awards show here. So my next one, another favorite story or setting. I like to put favorite instead of best, because it's this is just what I prefer. Maybe it's not your favorite, but it wins the award for being my favorite. Let's see. Oh man. I'm looking back over my prepared list of nominees and winners, and there are so many repeats on here. The whole point of doing this every 6 months instead of every 10 streams was that there wouldn't be as many repeats, but then, well, here we are. Alright, let me find my first one in this category. You've seen it already a couple of times. Basket Bell is here again. And, I know this is the third time it's appeared, but I stand by my decisions. I think it's been a runner-up in, every category, so I don't feel as bad about repeating it so many times, but it was great. For a long time in the game, you didn't really see much of the story, you just kind of solved puzzles, but it turned out, really kind of sweet in the end. It's about this, whole brother-sister relationship, and it kind of really just, comes around full circle in the end to make just, a really satisfying short story experience. Uh, Unforgettable, I would say. So give it up for this runner-up, Basket Bell. Okay, and my next runner-up, this one was called Batbarian. This one, I gave it like a favorite story slash setting award because it had like really well written, like actual funny dialogue. It kind of reminded me of like a classic point and click adventure game, like Monkey Island or something like that. Besides that, I mean, it also had pretty fun gameplay, which I should mention. Good kind of Metroidvania style gameplay. But it was something, it was a great game because it's like whenever a dialogue option popped up like that, I loved every option and I wanted to pick them all. So it was really memorable for that. When I was going through the games, I kind of considered making just like a made me laugh category. This absolutely would have been a winner in that category because that's what was so good about it. Like the dialogue was like genuinely funny. I've played so many games where they are obviously making a very conscious effort to try to be funny and they just kind of fall flat, but this one was a hit. I really liked it. And like not just the dialogue, but sometimes there was actual like comedic timing to the action of things that would happen, which made it all the more good. Like I want to wait and find like an actual clip I was thinking of. So all these clips that I prepared for all the games are like, you know, about 2 to 3 minutes long. But yeah, I think this was it. You meet this wizard character, and the barbarian that you play as canonically hates wizards. And as you can see, there's this dialogue where you must tell the wizard how much you hate wizards. And I loved that. And absolutely adored that. There was one really good character moment with this wizard that I really want to make sure everybody sees here. There's only about 30 seconds left in my clip for this game in total, so you're going to have to see this part. Let's give it just a moment. Yeah. It's this part where the wizard is casting a spell to open this door for you, and he summons this evil spirit by accident, and this shit happens. And the wizard's fucking dead. And all of the dialogue options it gives you right there at the end were like fantastic. Loved that. Loved the humor in that game. It was really good. All right, another runner-up we've got. This is another repeat. It's Fostering Apocalypse. This one was pretty cool because it's about like you find this little baby demon locked in a house at the beginning of the game, and it gives you, you know, options and like some pretty fun dialogue with the demon. And from what I can tell, it seems like it's intended to be played several times because it was very short. It probably only took me like 20-30 minutes to finish a whole sitting of the game. And I definitely got the feeling that there must be multiple endings based on all the actions you take during the game. So it seems to have a lot going for it in the story department. I would definitely have to give that one some credit. All right, this next one, it's going more in the setting category than story, but it's rainy season. I have mentioned this one once already in the awards, but yeah, definitely like there's not a lot of like narrative. There's not a lot that really like happens in this game, but it just really nails that feeling of, like being a kid and being stuck inside on a rainy day, like not being able to do anything but just kind of like hang out with your family and roam around the house and use your imagination. You can like kind of go out into the yard, but there's not that much to look at because you can't really go anywhere by yourself. And it got to be really cool once those like imaginative settings started to take place. Like here's that part where you walk out into the yard and you see jellyfish floating through the air. It was really cool, but it also, kind of nails that feeling of having a bit of cabin fever and just like looking at every single nook and cranny in the house. And then, hey, sometimes you open up a door and here is this like Studio Ghibli looking setting with like a giant cat sitting outside a house in a field. And this video seems to be frozen for some reason. I mean, seems like my stream is still going, but yeah, I don't know why this one froze. I don't know what happened here. Maybe I had some kind of rendering error with this clip, but I don't know. I'm just gonna stick that off to the side and hope that it's okay. All right. Now, my winner in this category, this is another one where I had the feeling of like, I would not be doing my job right if I did not give the award to this game. This was another one that I played more after the stream was over, and it was Wander Song. You might not have gotten the impression from like the Game Roulette stream itself that this game would have such a great story, but I could not believe how good this one was once I got to the end of it. It's like I like went in all of my discords and I told everybody I knew like, hey, you have gotta play this game. Like I could not get over how well written it was. Like the characters turned out to be so deep by the end and like genuinely like exploring who they are as people and like all of their like insecurities and hopes and fears. And I was just like, fuck, this is that like funny little game about the bard that I started out playing. Like I could not believe the places that this game went. Absolutely loved the story in this game. Like maybe the most engaging video game story that I have played this year. Really caught me by surprise. So you gotta give it up for that one. You owe it to yourself to play this one. Right, we're actually getting close to the end of the actual awards here, and pretty soon it's just gonna go into like discussion of the not quite winners. So now we got the award for favorite gimmick. This is for games that kind of bend the ideas of genre and you try to create something like really unique that's not like any other game you've played. So let's see, I've got 5 more games in this category. Let me start with some runners-up on this one. First one, again, these are the runners-up are going to be alphabetical, so I'm going to start with hold on. Cultist Simulator. This one, it was kind of hard to describe. It kind of felt like playing a board game, but obviously something you only play by yourself. So it would give you all kinds of cards of different types, and you can use those cards to produce different effects. And like as you're, playing different cards in different places, it kind of like forms a narrative of you being the founder of a cult and all of the like successes and failures you have in being a burgeoning cult leader. So it was basically just, you apply different cards in different places and wait a fixed amount of time for some effect to take place. And after a timer runs out, you're given different cards. It's a really weird like style of gameplay, but it made for a really interesting and like unique narrative device. So the Steam store page of it says that it intentionally does not have a tutorial or manual of any kind. So you really just have to like feel your way through the game and just experiment and try things and see where you end up. So that was pretty cool. I ended up, getting a pretty rare achievement just randomly fumbling my way through the game. I got something that only like 25% of players had in my short 45-minute session. So it was a really, unusual kind of game. I hadn't played anything like it. Give it up for Cultist Simulator. All right, now the next one I'm shouting out, it's a gimmick that I've definitely seen many times before, but one that I always appreciate. This game was called Epistory, and to sum it up, it's a typing game. It's pretty simple as that. I've always kind of had a soft spot for typing games, though, because, it gives me memories of like being in school and getting to do something actually fun on the computers. So it's kind of cool to play, like a full-on video game that is also about teaching you how to type well. And since I already know how to type, it's fun to get into a game like this now and then and just clean house at it. So just it would give you these word prompts as you travel around, and that's your method for interacting with everything. It even kind of went the extra mile in some places, and when you level up different skills and stats in this game, you have to actually type the name of the skill that you want to improve. And that's a really cool way of doing things. Like, it's so much more engaging than just clicking on a button in a menu. And like for a typing game, it really should have those different kinds of engagement like that. So I really appreciated that about it. I'm going to wait a minute so you can actually see the menu where you type in the upgrade that you want. There it is, yeah. So like if you want to move faster, you type in velocity and that spends a skill point for you. But it had a lot of cool things going for it. It had this, overworld story mode, and then it also had wave survival. So generally, like, all around great typing game, which I think the world needs more of. You've got your classics like your Mario teaches typing and your the typing of the dead, but I wish typing game was more of like a mainstream genre and not just like relegated to edutainment game, because I genuinely have fun with that. Maybe I'm weird, but that's what I like. Alrighty. So another one. This was not a game that I liked especially, but it had a really good gimmick. This game is called A Normal Lost Phone. And, the gimmick of this one is that it's like the whole interface is you navigating somebody's phone. So you can use the usual phone apps. You can look through their camera roll. You can look through their text history, which is the main narrative device of this game. And it's kind of about, figuring out who this person was, whose phone you have found. Um, like I said, it wasn't the game that I had the most fun with on any game roulettes, but I really have to give it points for the concept. If I was playing this on my phone itself, I think this would go a lot further. It would be really cool if you actually have your phone in front of you and you're clicking on all these different apps and exploring things. Like, I would have a lot more patience for scrolling through a text log history if it was, like, actually on my phone and I'm, like, stuck somewhere waiting for something, like waiting for a food order or something like that. So, as a PC game, I wasn't all that interested in it, but it's a cool concept, yeah. Oh, what's this? That's an interesting game idea, I think. Yeah, phone game on a phone, which maybe can implement some IRL stuff. Yeah. Because, I feel like it has that appeal of, like, voyeurism. Like, if you had actually found somebody's phone, I feel like everybody would be tempted to, like, open it up if it doesn't have a lock screen and kind of, like, see what's on it. Because at first, you would pick it up and you would say, oh, I should see if I can figure out who this phone belongs to and if I can return it to them. But if you had it in your possession, you might feel that temptation of, like, oh, I wonder what kind of texts this person sends, or, like, I wonder what is going on in their private life. And it's a really cool narrative idea. But yeah, it's something, like I said, that I would have a lot more fun exploring if it was on my phone. And, like, if I had time where I was, like, bored and didn't have other stuff to do. If the app goes to your actual phone homepage at one point. So, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, potentially cool narrative stuff that a game like this could do with your IRL phone. So, like I said, it's a favorite gimmick if it's not a favorite game for me. Also, there's a sequel, which I think is also in the Game Roulette lineup. So maybe you'll be seeing that one day. Okay. My next runner-up in the favorite gimmick category is Remnants of Neizith, and this is a pretty recent one, actually, but it's just like your basic 2D challenge platformer, but the gimmick in this case is that you have grappling hooks. Grappling hooks very often make a game more fun, and I'm not usually the type who enjoys this, repetitive, challenging platformer type of game, but I'm able to give it a lot more leeway given that, like, the grappling hook mechanics were so fun. It was really nice when you could get moving, like, really fast through a level or, like, swing up really high and get a ton of air. You could see sometimes I would finish a level just by, like, wall jumping repeatedly, which was not that much fun, but the points that were not super challenging still, like, made it really satisfying once you could get going on, like, a really smooth grappling hook chain. So, again, might not be a favorite game of mine, but you can't go too wrong with mechanics like this. They really, like, add a lot of value to a game that I otherwise might not care that much about. And just the animations are cool in general. Like, it's cool how after you swing, your character will just, like, twirl his grappling hooks in his hands. So it's got a lot of style in that way. I definitely had to appreciate it for that. Alright, I'm gonna find my actual winner here. Alright, so this is yet another game that you have seen before in a previous category, but I've gotta bring it back out. This is Yoku's Island Express. Like I said, it is a pinball-themed platformer adventure game. It has you traversing this whole, like, large map, and you come to, like, a series of different pinball paddles, and you have to navigate a whole bunch of different environments using those pinball mechanics. I kind of have a soft spot for pinball video games. I think it's a pretty cool genre. Going all the way back to like the Windows, was it like Windows XP Space Cadet 3D pinball? I spent plenty of time playing that game, and so it's kind of cool to see a game that takes pinball as a concept and expands it to this whole like expansive exploration adventure game. So it's a lot more than just like sitting on a single screen and repeatedly trying to knock the ball into a single place to get the most points, and instead like exploring a whole world using pinball buttons and like pinball flippers as your mechanics. And like even in addition to that, it's not just a pinball game, you know. It's also you control the character like running back and forth across a bunch of environments too. Um Maybe a little bit of puzzle solving, but honestly for the most part it was just like knocking this character around with the pinball flippers. That was really cool. So since this is a winner in the category, I want to wait until my clip gets to the part of the reveal of the title screen in this game. There's a full minute left in the clips that I took, so we're just gonna take a minute here and enjoy the fun pinball shenanigans of Yoku's Island Express here for just a few more seconds. I really gotta like put the titles in an overlay next time I do this. Wait, here it is. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? You just go flying up above the clouds, and you get to like blow the noisemaker as you're in the sky in front of the title screen. It's so polished and so good. I love any game that lets me press a button just to make a sound that has like basically no gameplay application outside of that. So definitely give some applause to games that let you make pointless noises. Excuse me. Okay, now we are getting up to the top winners right here. This is going to be the final award category before I go on and talk about the not so award worthy games. So, highest recommendation game I think you should buy. This would be, like your best picture if this were a movie award ceremony. If this were, like the official game awards, then this would be like your game of the year, except I'm planning to do this twice a year. So, I don't pay any attention to the game awards. In my opinion, this is a much more important awards show. So these are going to be like my top picks throughout all the streams. And like I said, every this one especially, every nominee is a winner because these are all games that I think are worth your money. My first runner-up that I'm going to list here, and this one I have to say was like very close to being the winner, was Bleed 2. This one was fantastic. The normal retail price for this one is $9.99, which on its own is like a great price for this game. But I'm sure it goes on sale for probably like $5, if not less. But it's just like great, good old-fashioned action. Like what you're seeing right here was a cool boss fight where you can actually deflect the boss's melee attacks. It's really simple mechanics to a really fun end. And it's made to be played repeatedly so that you can get like better and better letter grades on each level. But all of the individual levels are so much fun that like you would want to play it repeatedly just because every level and every boss fight is so cool. So definitely check that one out. All right, now, this should come as no surprise, but this is another one that has been mentioned once already. This is Devil Daggers. Somebody was in the chat, might have been Senator Racecar Bed, or could have been Emron. One of those two regular guys said this is like a game to keep installed at all times. And I can definitely see why. Like, an optimal run of this game is only like 5 minutes long, and so when you don't manage to last for 5 minutes, it's very easy to say, like, okay, let me try one more time. Okay, let me try one more time. It's just like... Oh, it was not Emron who said that. Okay, it must have been Senator Racecar Bed then. You guys are probably, like, the two most frequent viewers, so sometimes I forget which one of you said what. But yeah, I'm always really glad to have either or both of you guys there. Anyway, it is a really cool, really stylish game, and it's got like such simple mechanics. You just hold one button for a rapid fire weapon, or you tap the button for a shotgun blast, and using only those two tools and your movement, you just survive for as long as you can. And like the sound design is really cool because you have to hear the enemies kind of sneaking up behind you or spawning in. And you have to like constantly have like this sense of spatial awareness because you'll just die in one hit if anything touches you. And it's just really intense and like ramps up really quickly. Just constant like high level of fun in this one. So that one, normal price for Devil Daggers is also $9.99. You could probably pick that up on sale and it would totally be worth your money and your time. Okay, now this one, it's finally going to be the last time I mention this one, but Lifeless Planet, this is coming up for like the third or fourth time here, I feel like. Like I said before, I could not stop singing its praises when it came up in the game roulette, and I streamed an entire playthrough of the game because it was so compelling. Just basically, this is how everybody should do environmental storytelling. It just gives you like interesting landscapes to explore. You like slowly approach them, and as you get farther and farther into these landscapes, you learn more and more about the planet and the environment that you're in. and it just has this great sense of mystery and intrigue. The whole game is probably only about like 5 hours for the average person, maybe like 6 hours if you're trying to do 100% completion in it. But I loved it. I could not stop talking about how much I loved it as I played through the whole thing. And it's like, one thing that I brought up while playing it was it's like, I play a lot of games on the game roulettes that try to use their narrative as a selling point. And most of the time, the way a lot of indie developers like to do that is by having paragraphs and paragraphs of lore and like endless dialogue behind all of these like endlessly quirky characters, and it kind of becomes insufferable after a point. And like there's no way like to use like dialogue and text to like satisfyingly convey just the feelings you get playing something like Lifeless Planet and just seeing these landscapes for yourself, and like seeing a huge building appear on the horizon, and like how small your character is compared to that, but also like knowing that that's an environment you're going to explore. It's so like compelling to keep you going through the game. Like so much better than most like voiceover or text narratives can do. So it's a really like one of a kind thing that I'm really surprised more of the like Steam reviewers didn't appreciate, because I loved this game. Normal price for that one, let me see. It's $19.99, which might be, I don't know, a little much for like a 5-hour game for some people, but I'm sure you can buy that one on sale. Absolutely, it's worth playing. I, again, cannot recommend this one enough. Okay, the final runner-up of games I think you should buy. This one has not come up yet, surprisingly. It was called Wand Wars. Now, viewers during this actual stream were saying that this resembles Lethal League a lot, which I cannot deny. It does kind of look like that, but it's just on a 2D plane where you can move around freely, and you're just trying to deflect this ball into your opponent in every match. But this one, I cannot tell you enough how much of a blast it was to play. Like, once the ball gets moving really fast, and, you know, of course it speeds up with every deflection, it gets to be, like, so intense and, like, such a high-energy game. And as I was playing it, I kept having these comments of, like, oh, you know, it would be fun if there were, like, special power-ups you could grab, and then I would get to a level where there are special power-ups that you can use, like, in addition to the ball. And then I would say things, oh, like, oh, it would be cool if there were some obstacles in the level, like different level geometry, and then I would get to a level where there are obstacles, and it basically, like, fulfilled my every wish as I was playing through it. And in addition to that, just the core gameplay was really fun. And it has support for like up to 4 players or so. So I'm sure this one would make a really good party game. I wish I owned it on Steam so that I could play it with like friends and roommates on like the Steam Deck on the TV. Because I think it would be so much fun for that. Really just... That's really all this game was. It was just solid fun. I just thoroughly enjoyed myself playing this one. forgot to mention, the normal price of Wand Wars is $11.99. That one, I think, would be totally worth it, especially if you have other people to play it with. Just a great, pick up and play game. Something you can sit and play for like 5 or 10 minutes or for like a couple hours, and it's so much fun. So the winner, my absolute highest recommendation of like game I think you should buy, I have mentioned it at least a couple of times already. This one is Wandersong. Here it is again. Give it up for Wandersong. Actually, in like the last 10 seconds of the applause clip video, so I'm going to let that run out. Wow, there we go. I went through 30 minutes and 2 seconds of applause. But yeah, you might not have known it from like the first 45 minutes I played of Wandersong, but it was just thoroughly good. Like it was full of surprises all the way through the game. I mean, I liked it in the beginning because it had, a pretty good sense of humor. I liked the dialogue and the characters, and I thought the whole like music theme was a really cool way of like doing puzzles, not just like the Simon Says, the repeat after me type of puzzles, which it did have, but also it had, things like this where like the note that you play determines the direction that something in the level moves. It kept coming up with surprising ways to use that one simple mechanic and like make it into a fun game. Like in one level you were like using the music notes to like redirect gusts of wind to like carry you through the air. And in another one it's like the notes that you play are like beams of light that light up a dark level. It basically used that mechanic in every conceivable way to make it a fun game. And as I already mentioned, it had probably like the best written story of any game that I played this year, and I was floored by how well the characters were written and just like how surprisingly heartfelt the dialogue would get. There were a lot of like optional scenes where you learn just like a whole lot of deep things about the characters, but that kind of stuff came late enough in the game that it was at a point where I actually cared a little about the characters. It wasn't like, your average visual novel where it dumps paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs on you at the beginning before you have any idea what's going on, and you're just kind of like, oh, so I have to read all this stuff before I can actually get started. This game, a great thing about it is that a lot of the dialogue is optional, and you can just like go through the game and like solve the puzzles and have fun if that's what you would rather do. Or if you would like to do the optional scenes where the characters, reveal more about themselves, you have that option also. And like, you don't miss out on anything if you choose not to go those routes. So it's like, even if the story isn't your favorite and you would rather just do the puzzle platforming stuff, you don't have to engage with a lot of the story. But still, I highly recommend doing so because it was probably the most satisfying game I've played all year. Well, I don't know if I can wholeheartedly say that. I mean, I did play Elden Ring this year, and that was another extremely satisfying game to play. But in game roulettes, this one, I'd say, was like easily one of the best things I played. Normal price for that one is $19.99, and I absolutely loved it. But for other people, I would say, maybe you'd want to wait until it's on sale, but I can 100% stand behind this one and recommend it. So you should check that out. Let me start over the applause. And as that applause ramps up, I'm about to do a quick BRB, and then it's going to be time to talk about the kind of non-awards. So this will be like, games that I rage quit at, or games that deserve some kind of credit, even if they didn't fit into an award category. But I'm gonna give at least every game a little bit of lip service here. So I'm gonna be BRBing, and then I will be back for that. So stay tuned. Let me just clear off the screen a little here. And you know what? Maybe I'll put on a little music while I do my BRB, and not my like shitty Price is Right MIDI. Let's just put on my video game OST playlist, and I'll be doing my BRB. Intermission. Alright, I'm back now. It's time for the rest of the stream now to just kind of chill out and more discuss the rest of the games than to, like, award them. So let me just go through everything that I did in Game Roulettes. Before November, I did have to have, like, some kind of a cutoff point so that I didn't just end up, like, perpetually behind on the editing. But anyway, let's make up a new fake-ass category here. I separated some of these out. These are going to be the too hard for me games. Games that I didn't think were worth an award because I had a really hard time with them and probably ended up rage quitting them. So just again in alphabetical order, we had Card Quest, which I was kind of having high hopes for. I like deck builder type of games, but this one, I don't know, I died several times in the game and I always felt like there was nothing I could have done to avoid a death. I think it might have had, unlockable classes to kind of mitigate that, but I didn't want to invest that much time in it. It's kind of hard to strike a balance in, like, deck builder games of, like, making you feel like a win or a loss was not entirely up to luck. And I didn't feel like this one did that exactly. So, yeah, I did not play too long on that one. Let's see what I got next. You might be surprised at this one, but we had Doom 64. I'm a lifelong fan of Doom games. Never really had Doom 64 as a kid though, and I was shocked to learn in Doom 64. I don't know if this is the case with all of the Doom games, but if you die in Doom 64, you lose all of your weapons. So basically, after playing through several levels that were a lot of fun, I got to one level where, I didn't really try my hardest, and I just kind of let myself die, and I ended up being just completely stuck. I dropped down into a level where I, I only had my pistol, and I had to fight a bunch of these big pinky demons, and I was being shot at from above by zombie guys also. So it's once I hit that point, I didn't really have much of a way to succeed anymore. You really have to save your game and hold on to your weapons in Doom 64, or you just kind of get boned. So, another one. Oh yeah, this one I full on rage quat, but this was called Nex Machina, and I wasn't that into it from the start. I mean, it's very much like an arcade style top down shoot 'em up type of game, which normally, I'm pretty into, but I think just in the visual style of this game, it was really hard to tell what was hitting me and why I was getting killed. And the levels were just frustratingly hard. And add to that just kind of a muddied visual style with way too many neon lights blasting all over the place. Really hard to figure out what was going on as I'm just repeatedly dying. I think I only played that one for 15 or 20 minutes, and I was just I cannot take any more of this. And actually, very similar style of game for the next one. It was Tormentor X Punisher. Now, this one, by contrast, I actually do like the aesthetic style of it. It's actually a lot more clear cut and crisp, and has got pretty satisfying action. The screen shake is pretty cool, but I again didn't play this one for very long because it's I just felt like it was very easy to very quickly get overwhelmed. And so, yeah, I wanted to like this one, but I ended up not playing it for very long. The Get Good Award, yes, indeed. Just like that. But that's it for that quote-unquote award category. So the next one I'm going to do is the really deserves some kind of award. Oh, hold on. These are for games that I did enjoy, but I couldn't come up with a cool award category to fit them into. So these are a bunch that I'd be happy to go through. Games that I did enjoy for all intents and purposes, but didn't really deserve that much mentioning, I guess. First one was Binky's Trash Service. This was just, a good old-fashioned platformer where you're just trying to hit a series of targets throughout a level and avoid hazards in the process. And you don't run out of lives or anything, you're just judged by how fast you can complete the levels. And, it was a totally alright game. It had some pretty satisfying jumping mechanics. It had a Mario 64-esque cartwheel, and it had wall jumping. Not a bad little game, but also not all that much to write home about. Next one up, I have kind of mentioned this one already, but Bleed 1. Just kind of by the nature of both a game and its sequel being included in the same stretch of game roulettes, there's not that much reason to talk about Bleed 1, because while it is fun, it is like totally like a legit good game. Bleed 2 is just an improvement in just about every way. About the only thing that was more fun in Bleed 1 was that you had more like weapon variety selections. I remember there being like a flamethrower weapon that was pretty cool that wasn't in the second game, or at least that I hadn't unlocked in the second game. I had some, genuinely cool stuff like that. But, the sequel was all around much better, so I didn't end up giving any awards to Bleed 1. Next one, we got Chronology. This one, pretty regular, straight across the plate puzzle platformer, but it had like a time travel mechanic where you would be half in the past and then you could shift into the future, and things that you did in the past would have an effect in the future. There was also a snail companion character who could freeze time, and that added another dimension to the puzzle platforming. Pretty cool little game. Not very long, but totally nothing wrong with this one. I could definitely recommend this if you're into puzzle platformers. And, it's kind of a shame that I had to cut off November games because I played yet another puzzle platformer with like hand painted backgrounds like this where you play as a little gnome. That one was called Nubaron. And if they had both been in the same stretch, I was totally prepared to make a like an award category of best puzzle platformer where you play as a gnome. But yeah, they were in separate stretches, so I couldn't group them together like that, unfortunately. Next one that deserves some kind of award is Cities Skylines. I had a pretty good time with this one. It reminded me of nostalgic times of playing SimCity and SimCity 2000. Full on just the modern successor to those games. Once the city started springing up, it was pretty satisfying to see those buildings filling in the plots. It was fun to follow pedestrians around on the street and see them go like to and from work. Just, pretty cool little experience. Love a good little city builder. Next up, there was Depanure Nocturne, however you say that French title. Oh, actually, I could have included this in like best single sitting game because it absolutely was a single sitting game. I actually played through it twice in the game roulette where it came up. There's not that much to it. You basically just walk into this little convenience shop, pick out an item or two, and see the dialogue that the shopkeeper gives you based on the items that you pick. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it had a pretty good little atmosphere. I liked it well enough. There was nothing that I disliked about it. Oh, good night to Emrun. Thank you for being here in the awards. And happy birthday. I'll be winding down the rest of the awards. I'm chilling out here. But yeah. Have a good night then. Have a good birthday night. I hope this was everything you wished for on your birthday. And speaking of Emron, the next game I wanted to talk about was Duck Game. This one, it was shaping up to be nothing remarkable because it's like clearly intended to be a multiplayer game, and all I could really do was like single player training missions. But then like halfway through the stream, Emrun comes into the chat and he's like, "Hey, I have Duck Game. If you want to play that multiplayer, I'll launch it up and go head to head with you." So he and I played a bunch of matches for probably like 15 or 20 minutes and had a lot of fun with Duck Game. Once I like actually got to try the multiplayer maps for it, it was a really like fun and satisfying experience. Even if he did kick my ass in like 9 levels out of 10. So really cool. It had, a fun weapon variety, tons of maps. It kind of did the Transform Ice style where it just puts you into a random map every time you start a game. But that one, really cool. Definitely like a great couch head-to-head game. Also, okay, so this is one I have not played further beyond the stream, but Ex Anima was really cool. It was a dungeon crawler, but with a very involved physics engine. So you could see as your character runs around, you have a lot of momentum. You could like just push enemies over just by running into them. It doesn't really damage them, but man, it's really funny because it's got like a lot of ragdolls and stuff. I had a really hard time getting a hang of the combat, but like I said, for that reason, it was a game that I wanted to play more of. And maybe I will one day. Another one. Next up, I've got. This one is called Hack. That's, as you can see it on the screen right there, it's spelled Haque. This is a kind of game that, I generally like. It's, a traditional roguelike where, you've got the full grid-based movement. But this one, it's also, meant to be played in very short sittings. Each character that you roll gets, a set of skills. Pretty fun stuff that you could use. But, other than that, it wasn't anything like life-changing. But I had a good time with that. Ooh, the next one. This was Hugh. This one, another like abstract, intellectual puzzle platformer. I feel like that basically could have been its own award category because there are so many of these braid likes where it's like very minimalist puzzle games / platformers. The gimmick of this one was that, you're collecting various colors and you have to swap between colors to make items of that color appear or disappear in the landscape. But as puzzle platformers go, it was totally satisfactory. I had a pretty good time with that one. Now let me see, what else have I got here? What have I got coming up next? Okay, here we go. We had Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. This is like an actual retro LucasArts point-and-click adventure game, which was a genre I liked as a kid. I loved Monkey Island 1 and 2. I liked Loom. This one I never had as a kid, but it was pretty cool because, it was a full-on LucasArts adventure game, but also had full voice acting, which was really cool. And this opening credits sequence that I'm playing through here was really fun, where like Indiana Jones just like falls through a number of floors in a series of comical mishaps. But yeah, I just have a soft spot for this genre. So even if I didn't get too far in this game, it was pretty cool. And LucasArts adventure games were fun to interact with because it's like even when you're making the wrong choices, they would put in amusing dialogue and interesting puzzles and stuff. So I did not have a bad time with that one. Next one, we had Lego Batman 2. My friend in the chat, Hate Thy King, if you're still there, I was introduced to the like Lego franchise games through you when you gifted me Lego Lord of the Rings, and I was surprised to find that I was compelled to play through that whole game. Actually, like they have like pretty fun gameplay to them, and the great thing about these like Lego franchise games is they're full of fan service in the sense that there is like inclusion of like basically every character you can think of in that franchise. I mean, Lego Lord of the Rings has Tom Bombadil. So it's like that's when you know a Lord of the Rings game is like making deep cuts to the fans. And while I had technical difficulties with Lego Batman 1, Lego Batman 2 was smooth sailing, and I could definitely see like a lot of the Lego franchise staples coming into play. So definitely had a good time with Lego Batman 2. And I know that if I kept up with it, it would be an equally satisfying game to the other like Lego games that I've played. So another pretty fun one. This was called Minute. I should have maybe put this one in like the favorite gimmick category also, because the gimmick on this one is that every life you play through in this game is only 60 seconds long. So you basically have to figure out how to make progress in the game only 60 seconds at a time. That was pretty fun. It's kind of a Zelda-like, but also mostly a puzzle game. But that gimmick makes it pretty fun too, because it's like, you know that you're not intended to go too far from your starting point at any given time. So you know that like there's a pretty small space that you're able to explore before you hit the wall of the time limit. So it gives you like very clear constraints to play within. And that one, was pretty cool. Another one, this is a game that has a pretty big reputation, so I don't really need to talk too much about it, but this was Nioh, and there's already Nioh 2 out. It's known for being, probably the best Souls-like out there. Somebody had told me if you don't like Nioh 1, you shouldn't let that soil your opinion of Nioh 2, but I actually enjoyed this one as well. It was pretty cool how it has like loot with randomized stats, unlike the Souls games, where like all of your weapons are pretty well fixed. And the combat was not bad. It was arguably more fast-paced than your average like FromSoft game. It had some pretty good boss fights and stuff in it too. And I did enjoy that one. I'd say it's definitely better than like the average game roulette game. But yeah, just didn't do anything particularly amazing that I felt like needed an award. So after that, I've got Outlast, another game with like a pretty big reputation. It's pretty well known in the horror game community. I am not much of a horror gamer, so it was an interesting experience playing Outlast. I was, very, I don't know if I would say on edge throughout the game, but I was like very much like creeping along, expecting the jump scares to happen, and just like doing my best to talk my way through them and reassure myself that everything that's happening is above board and normal. I don't think it's gonna turn me into a horror game player, but for what it is, I had a pretty fun experience doing that one. I need to get a VR helm someday and do horror. Yeah, I'm sure it is spooky. I'd probably just like fall out of my chair doing it in VR, since I'm not much of a horror game player. Which is weird because, like, I'm a horror movie watcher. Like, I love a good horror movie, but I feel like, I guess when you're in a game, it adds that level of, like, participation that you feel, like, a lot more engaged in the spooky things that are happening. And it's not just, like, spooky things happening to a random person on screen. It's, like, actually happening to you in the video game. So another one, um, Overload is what this one is called. This one, it has a lot going for it. It plays like some retro games, like I think The Descent, things like that. Except, it's a lot more simplified for modern sensibilities. And it was really cool how it has this like full 3D flight and combat. The only reason this didn't get more awards from me is like probably a good 75% of my time playing the game was spent checking the map and just trying to figure out where the hell to go in the level. Because like I would have a lot of fun with the combat. It was cool encountering all the enemies and stuff, and then like I would have to spend so long just figuring out where the level exit is that overall I couldn't say that like I had tons of fun with the game, but if somebody with a better sense of direction played it, I'm sure this one would be a blast. I also heard that it's kind of expensive, like it's $30 on Steam or something, which I would not pay for it unless it was like a lot more engaging and intense action and not so much of like trying to figure out where the hell to go. Another one next up is Plunge. This one, it's kind of hard to describe. It's kind of like a traditional roguelike in a way, but the way the movement works was basically like if you press in a direction, you go all the way in that direction until you hit a wall or an enemy that stops you. So it was kind of cool, like figuring out how that combat system worked, like working around that movement system and like fighting enemies in that way and even doing boss fights in that way. So I don't think it's something that I would play a ton of in the future, but it was still a cool and unique experience. Okay. Next up is Cube, or Cube 2. It's spelled with a Q and like with a period between each letter in the word cube, spelled with a Q. Um, this one seems very much like it was trying to ape Portal. It's, a first person puzzle game where you're in a series of test chambers, but I don't think they explicitly call them test chambers. But I mean, they're test chambers. Like, come on. And you use a series of different mouse click functions to navigate the levels and solve all the puzzles. It was a fine experience, but I mean, obviously it is no Portal, but it was pretty fun. It was decently fun. Mostly just for the meme of Cube. But I can't say it was bad. Another one I got up here is Race the Sun. I don't know. Can't say a whole lot about this one. It's very much what it looks like. You control this little ship slash plane thing, and you avoid obstacles. You just dodge left and right and try not to smash into anything. It's, pretty fun. It has a lot of weird, like, battle pass-y stuff in it that has, like, daily goals and unlockables, like, aesthetics for your ship, which is weird in a single-player game to have those, like, live service elements, especially, like, this small indie game like this. But still, as you can see here, I'm doing, like, the first-person mode at this point in the game. It was pretty fun, but difficult enough that I didn't want to continue playing it for too long. But as a concept, it was satisfying to play. So next up, there was this game called Say No More, which was pretty good. Uh, I mentioned at one point I was thinking about making a new award category for games that I actually found funny, and this game would have gotten a spot in that because it was pretty amusing. I mean, there's literally like one mechanic in the game. You press a button to make your character say no in various contexts, and that's all that happens to make the game progress. Still, like, it had an unusual amount of character customization and like 20 or 30 different languages you could say no in. So naturally, as a big weeaboo, I had my character say no in Japanese. And it probably could have been a single sitting game, but I didn't play all the way through it in the game Roulette. Still, it did make me laugh a bit. So that and being easy to play meant it got some points in my book. All right, and another one that really deserves some kind of award was called Sheltered, and it's kind of what it sounds slash looks like. It's like a simulation game where you are controlling this family in a fallout shelter, and you have to build upgrades to the shelter, venture out to collect resources. Had a little bit of a battle system to it also. So it was, decent for what it was. It wasn't anything that changed my life, but I couldn't level any too big of complaints against it. It was fine. Next one. I'm actually surprised I didn't include this in any other award categories, but it was a SteamWorld Dig 2. And I had played SteamWorld Dig 1, actually played it beyond the streams as well. But I was, mentioning that SteamWorld Dig 2 seemed to be just an all-around improvement over SteamWorld Dig 1 in like every immediately observable way. I really like that gameplay loop of just, venturing into the underground, collecting resources, coming back up to get money for those resources and buy upgrades that allow you to collect more resources and so on and so forth. It's kind of like reminiscent of like a Diablo clone in that kind of gameplay loop, how you're repeatedly going back to town and selling things to get more gold and buy more items. But yeah, I mean, it was a good little game. So I might finish SteamWorld Dig 1 on my own time and then go and play some SteamWorld Dig 2. Who knows? But so far, all of the SteamWorld games have been good. I'm planning to play the next SteamWorld game, the only one that I haven't played yet, on the next Game Roulette stream. So that'll be something to keep tuned for, stay tuned for. Another one I got here was Techno Babylon. Another point-and-click adventure game. I'm not sure when this one was made. It could be a modern game, or maybe it's a little bit older. I really don't know. If it is newer, then it nails the retro aesthetic pretty well. And this is another one that I would have included in the made me laugh category, because it's not like a comedy game overall. I mean, I think it is supposed to be a cyberpunk tech noir type of game. But yeah, this was it right here. There was this really funny part where you're like interacting with your automatic cooker AI, and that was a pretty cool gameplay element. I get the feeling if I played through more of the game, it would have this recurring thing where you like interface directly with machine AIs and like have dialogue with them, which was a pretty cool concept. But yeah, this was the funniest part right here, was where you ask the cooker AI about trays and cutlery and it just goes, fork. I probably laughed bigger at that than like any other moment in these game roulette streams. But, that moment alone was not enough to elevate the whole game into a greater recommendation. If I played more of it, maybe it would have turned into a full recommendation, but as of now, I was just like, it's pretty good. So then one more, we had This War of Mine. I think I played this the same night as Sheltered, and it has very similar mechanics to Sheltered, except in this one you're playing as a crew in an actual rundown house instead of an underground shelter. But it's the same thing where like you're buying upgrades, going out to get resources, and just surviving. Much like Sheltered, we were saying, like me and whoever was in chat, that these were like elevated Flash games. Basically, like this was Flash game gameplay, just with an extra layer of polish on top of it. Just looks a little bit better than the average Flash game would back in the day, but totally has that kind of gameplay loop. And then only a few more in the deserve some kind of award category. So I've got Thorn, which was spelled as like Thor.N. This one, there's not a whole lot I can say about it because it was a pretty short one. It was another single sitting game, but it wasn't one of the best single sitting games. The premise was basically it's an idle game, except it's in a full 3D first person setting. So really, like, all you do is like stand around this tiny apartment and walk back and forth across like 3 computer screens, and you press buttons to repeatedly gain currency, and eventually you automate those button pressing workstations, and you just automatically gain money until eventually you earn enough points that you win the game. So, I don't know, sometimes I like to sit down and, have an idle game running in the background. So, I have kind of a soft spot for that kind of genre. It was interesting, even though it was a bit of novelty to see it in a first-person environment. But yeah, it was definitely something I'm only going to play once. But pretty neat for a one-time game. One more I got here is called Tori. And, like the Japanese spelling, that should have 2 I's at the end. This one, it was an okay, like, puzzle/exploration game. Definitely very stylized. It had occasional, like, narrative interludes with some text on the screen, which I don't know if you'll see in this clip or not. But, it's very much trying to ape Journey. I can tell that even without ever having played Journey in my life. But I think what kept this game from, winning a lot of like actual awards from me was I thought the visual design got kind of like cluttered with all of its effects sometimes. Like there's just all kinds of, glowing objects and like particle effects on the screen and like things overlapping each other to the point where it's sometimes kind of hard to tell exactly what you're looking at. But, it was a unique experience anyway. I didn't dislike that. And one more in this category, and then I'm going to talk about the unremarkables. So this one was Urnog. That's spelled Urnog. Urnog. Yeah. So this one, it's a little hard to describe. It has very Super Mario Brothers 2-esque mechanics, where you're just running around a bunch of levels, going through doors, picking things up, holding them over your head. And from what I could tell, the point of the game seemed to be to collect a lot of various types of creatures that are scattered around this world and bring them back to a central hub. But, I don't know. It seemed like, I don't know, not that focused of a game. It didn't really have like linear levels. It was based a lot on just exploration. So it was pretty fun, but it wasn't anything that like blew me away. All right, so let me switch over to... All right, this is the final category. If you can call this awards. This was actually up on the screen when I first started the stream. The Unremarkables. Let's get that one off of there. And these are all just, things that I'm not going to have anything amazing to say about. First one, I played Amogus. I was basically, playing with randos. I mean, if ever there was a game whose reputation precedes it, it's this one. Everybody knows this game. Everybody knows the premise. Probably everybody has played it. I am certain, more fun to play with friends. But, I had an alright time with it. Just playing with randos for the first time. And, trying to explain to people, I have literally never played this game before. There is nothing sus about what I'm doing. So, yeah, it was okay. It was an alright experience. I had never played it before, though, so, that was pretty neat. The next Unremarkable is called Avedon, the Black Fortress. I think this is actually like a pretty freaking old game, possibly from the 90s, if not the early 2000s. And it's, an isometric CRPG. Some elements kind of like Fallout 1 and 2. Lots of text to read. Lots of items that you're probably never going to need. Stuff like that, so it didn't really click with me all that much. And after that, another Braid-like, another artsy puzzle platformer. This one was called The Bridge. The premise of this one, the gimmick, was that you can rotate the levels, and that's how you solve the puzzles. It was going for kind of an MC Escher aesthetic, I think. But yeah, just a very Braid-like puzzle platformer where it just has, that one control gimmick that makes you go ooh, a few times. So, yeah, not very much I can say with that. It wasn't bad. It's just kind of plain, I guess. Not even as remarkable as Hue. So next, I will remark about the next Unremarkable. We got Call of Juarez. This one, again, I can't point to anything in it that was especially bad. I didn't dislike playing it. It was a pretty regular first-person shooter. It had some potential, to earn style points throughout your missions, and a few gimmicky controls you could use, like a slow motion mode. It's right there on screen where you could kind of dodge bullets. It was a fine first-person shooter, but another one that didn't amaze me. Then I had Children of Morta, which for one thing, it did have very pretty art. It almost got included in my favorite aesthetics category, But I mean, aside from being like very well made and like smoothly animated pixel art, it wasn't like anything extremely striking that I felt like I hadn't seen before. So, I mean, not to like discount the quality of the artwork, because they did a good job with it, and you can tell that like a lot of work went into it, and the animations are like detailed and smooth. But the gameplay, I was just kind of like, it was kind of a repetitive dungeon crawler. It was like playing a Diablo game, but the enemies I felt like were in general tankier than I would like. It was just a lot of like repeatedly shoot at the enemies while backing away from them, and like not that engaging of gameplay. Maybe it would get better later on into the game as I like unlock more elements of it, but I was not that impressed with like the 45 minutes I spent on it. Another one here was Control. This one I know had like a pretty good amount of hype around it when it came out. It's like a fairly big budget game. You know, as far as I got into it, it seemed to just be kind of a regular third-person shooter. I didn't see anything all that compelling in it, aside from obviously like having like decent studio production behind it. So I don't know. I couldn't really figure out what was going on in the story. There was an evil force called the Hiss that would make spooky things like this happen, like, oh, everything turned all red and you have to shoot people. I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't really like following it that much or getting hooked on it all that much. Didn't have too much fun with the gunplay in it. Because aside from like having some neat, satisfying visual effects when you would shoot the enemies, I didn't really see that much going on in it. But you know, those big budget studio games, it's like you kind of have to give them a lot of time before they pick up. And on Game Roulettes, I don't have a lot of time. So it's not really built for that. Next game was Costume Quest. I heard a bit about this one when it came out. I think it was published by Double Fine Studios. They're like pretty well known for putting out like Psychonauts and stuff. This one was just, I don't know, very average. I felt like it had this very simplistic JRPG style combat, and other than that, it was just like, you know, running around this town and finding stuff to collect before you find the next enemy to fight. The most fun I had with it was like reminiscing about like childhood Halloween times. That in itself was more fun than the game. So another one, Daemon Ex Machina. This one again is like a moderately budgeted game, like made by a full-on studio. It's definitely not like a tiny indie project like I often play on the Game Roulettes. So it was a lot of cutscenes, a lot of production value put into the many, many systems that do not directly impact the gameplay. You know, like cutscenes, voice acting, story material, stuff that I was not very engaged with. The gameplay itself was fine. You know, you fly around, you shoot things. There's not very much like complex action to it. And not a lot that I can say about it. Okay, another one. Dead Pixels. I can't say a whole lot about this one. You can see it's clearly got like edited Mega Man sprites. It's very much trying to be like, it has pixel graphics, it's a retro style game, and this more than anything plays like a Flash game. Probably more than anything else I played. Not even like an upgraded Flash game like This War of Mine or Sheltered. This plays like a straight up Flash game, except with like a visual overlay on the screen. So, you run to the right and you shoot the zombies and you collect items, and there's not that much to it. I'm not sure I even played that one until the time limit. After that, I had Death Coming. This one I hoped I would enjoy more. I thought the pixel art was really good in this one. It's like nice and charming. It's got that clean isometric perspective. The whole premise was just you navigate around this whole landscape and you click on objects to interact with and try to do so in such a way that you kill all of the random people throughout this landscape. So sometimes, you could find neat combinations of things to click on to cause some big event to happen, like that UFO you just saw picking everybody up. But most of the time, it was just this kind of frustration of being like, okay, what can I click on now? Like, what do I still have left that I can click on? I have no idea. So, that was the big downfall of the game, I think, was just running out of things to do and having no idea how to proceed. So, it could be kind of frustrating in that way. It was a cool idea for a game, but it didn't have enough, like, freedom or leeway to complete the levels. It just has very fixed things that you can do and that you need to do in order to progress. So, if it had, been a little easier on the player, it could have been something really fun. Another one, we've got Divide by Sheep, which, again, it's not a game that, like, I hated. I very much think it's a mobile port, because it has that, like, Angry Bird system where you have to try and earn 3 stars on a level, not just solve the puzzles, but solve them in the best way possible to get all 3 stars. And it didn't make for a very engaging stream, I felt like, because most of my time playing it, I was just sitting there pondering and thinking like, okay, how can I best solve this puzzle? It's very, cerebral. You have to do a lot of thinking and just plotting how to get the right number of sheep from one island to the next. Sometimes it could be satisfying once you solved the puzzle, but other than that, like, the moment-to-moment gameplay was not all that engaging to me. Just not that much my kind of game. Next up I had Don't Give Up. I think the subtitle for this one was A Cynical RPG. So I'm like, okay. I spent a bit of time riffing on this game because I felt like the dialogue and writing were not as clever as the game thought they were. So it had a little bit of like the yeek effect, where it was just kind of like fascinating for how silly some of the dialogue was, and thinking like, oh god, is this what the game developer thinks of himself? But obviously this was not as high profile as Yeek. But, if you want to play something like that, I could recommend this. Because I know, like, for all of the flaws in Yeek, it got kind of a cult following as it went on, as people realized, like, it's not as bad as people thought it was. Once you get past, like, the very, like, pretentious writing, it had a lot of good things going for it. So maybe in that sense, this game could be the next Yeek. maybe it could get more exposure and it could reach that level. But that's very much what it reminded me of. Next up, this one was called Dry Drowning. I don't feel like there's a whole lot I can say about it. It's a visual novel. I'm not that into visual novels. I get bored when I'm just sitting there reading endless dialogue between two characters. I liked the visual style of this game pretty well, especially the opening cinematic was really cool. But then I was very quickly just like, oh, so this is going to be the whole game, huh? And yeah, I definitely cut that one short. Was not all that engaged in it. I'm already ready to move on and talk about the next game, which was Fate of Kai. This one, I don't know. It was very unremarkable. I mean, they had one idea, which was like, hey, here's this comic book. You solve puzzles by changing verbs within the comic book to change what actions the character decided to take. And it was a very simple mechanic of just swapping things out to change results. I will at least give it points for not bogging me down in a ton of dialogue. It has this comic book style and like actually uses the comic book format well in not giving the characters pages and pages of dialogue. So at least it knew its place. I can say that about it. And I did play through this whole game. I finished the whole thing in the stream. But it did not make it into my best single sitting game award. Another one, we got Flamberge. Wait, is it playing? There it is, okay, yeah. I was like, wait, did I accidentally record a black screen? I feel a little bad putting this one in this category because it was fine, you know. It was sort of a tactics RPG, but unlike your usual tactics RPG like a Final Fantasy Tactics or a Fire Emblem, it's not like oriented on a grid. It kind of plays it pretty loose with the character movement and placement. But also because of that, sometimes it could be hard to know like what an enemy was going to do on your turn, or like what the outcome of your actions was going to be. So I have to give it points for, you know, the ambition and the concept, but it was a little hard to get into. But yeah, and it was kind of cool how it was like this super minimalist pixel art, tiny, tiny characters. But, you know, it had good elements, like swapping out equipment for all your different characters and how they all have their own unique move sets and different things they can do. But yeah, a lot of the time it was hard for me to feel like I was really in control of what was going on. So I'm going to move on to another one. This was a puzzle game called A Good Snowman is Hard to Build. Again, it's totally fine for what it is, but what it is a very simple game where you're on, you know, these patches of snow, and you have to build a snowman consisting of a big bottom piece, a medium middle piece, and a small head piece. And, you know, if you roll a piece across some snow, it's going to get bigger, so you have to account for that in your rolling of the balls. So it's very much what you see on the packaging. It's not very deep. It's a very simple, but also very compact type of puzzle game, if that's what you're into. This next one, I'm more than halfway through the Unremarkables, even though I'm only at the letter H here. This is Hidden Folks. Um, this one didn't have a whole lot going on in it. Just pretty plain black and white art here. And the whole objective is to find all of the people or objects that you see at the bottom of the screen. When you find them, you click on them. And when you've clicked on enough of them, you can go to a new level. That's about it. It's got an okay art style. I can say that about it. But that one had me pretty bored. Most of my time I was just scrolling around the map. Sometimes I was just wildly clicking, hoping I would find anything. So if you're a Where's Waldo fanatic, maybe you would like Hidden Folks. My next one up here, it's called Isbot. This one, you could very much call it like Super Meat Boy Light, because it's very much that same kind of game. Just a very simple platformer. All you can do is jump and move and wall jump. That's all that it's got going on. So it's just, avoid hazards, navigate the levels, and yeah, it was totally okay, but not a genre that I'm very interested in. I'm going to go ahead and move on to The Long Dark. This one, again, it's mostly just going to fall victim to not being a genre that I'm that into. It's a survival game. It's an open world survival craft. Somewhat realistic. It doesn't seem to have any fantasy elements. It's just you're crash landed in a snowy landscape. You have to stay warm and find food. And it's, good for what it is. If you're into this kind of game, then maybe you would like that. But by the end of my session of the game, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to sprint into the wilderness with this gun and shoot everything I see. Eventually, I found my way into like a house. I had no idea what was going on. There weren't any people in the house. So I just, shot a bunch of their belongings and slept in their bed. Because I was heavily injured from jumping off that cliff. So, didn't have a too remarkable of an experience with that one. If you're into the survival genre, maybe you would get more out of it than I did. This next one is called The Lost Art of Innkeeping. You can probably immediately tell that it's an RPG Maker game. But I kind of like games where you play as just like a humble shopkeep, or in this case, innkeeper. Something like a reciteer. But this one, to an extent, this one was a victim of me playing it immediately after the previous Game Roulette Awards session. And so I was like very tired at the time. I don't think I was giving it my full attention. But also at the same time, I was finding myself frustrated with some of the mechanics, like all of your guests at your hotel would want like different accommodations, and you don't know what those accommodations are until they are already checked in and you can no longer modify their room. So that was a really frustrating element of the game to me, and something that kind of barred me from playing more of it. Another one, which was kind of a victim of unfortunate circumstances again. This was Mark of the Ninja. I had been hearing for years that this was a great game. That's like one of the best stealth games ever made. And I feel like I would have felt the same about it if I had played it when it was new. Because I got into it and I was just kind of like, it does have pretty good stealth elements, but I wasn't really having a blast with it. I thought it was fine, but yeah, it's very much from that era of, like early Xbox Live games when like indie games were finally starting to become somewhat mainstream in their way. So for that time period, when just things like Castle Crashers and that ninja game were like some of the games in this style that you could get. This one would have been great among those. But for me, I was just kind of like, you know. So it's fine. It's okay. This next one, kind of a funny thing with this one was, as I was picking out the games for the awards, every time I passed by this game, like to consider what was eligible for an award, I was like, ugh, this fucking game. This one, like, probably had me react with more disgust than any other game. Very much like Divide by Sheep, it's clearly a mobile port, a super casual puzzle game. It's called Necro Worm, and man, I was not at all into this one. The art style is hideous. The puzzle mechanics were not fun to me. It was a lot of trial and error. So, like, I just only gave it so many levels before I was like, this is not fun. I need to play something else. And yeah, I mean, it's all around hideous. And it's hideous on purpose. And that's about it. I don't know. I struggle to find something good to say about this one, unfortunately. Maybe that developer will try again and make something better. But another one here was Promesa. This is another one I can't say a whole lot about, just in general. It is a walking simulator in the truest sense of the word. All you do is walk through some environments. You don't interact with a single thing. You can just look around at the sights, and periodically the game would show you some text on the screen. This was the coolest part of the game right here, was where it shows you this old photo, and then you actually like walk forward into the photo, and it kind of becomes a 3D environment. That was the most creative thing the game did, honestly. It was the most remarkable thing out of this unremarkable. And then it puts you into like an actual 3D modeled environment based on that photo. That was the only thing that happened in the game where I was like, oh, cool. Other than that, I was just like, I'm getting nothing out of this. So after that, I played Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishments. It's hard to say much of anything about this one, like good or bad. It just kind of is. Like, you play as Sherlock Holmes, you ask people questions in dialogue trees, you look around at the environment and it tells you when there's a clue that you found. The graphics do the job. They don't look bad. Clearly some effort went into these. Some professional worked on this. They did their job. They got paid. They did not fail at their job. But, yep. There it sure is. I am not the biggest Sherlock Holmes fan, but maybe if you are, you would like this one. I don't know what I can say. So next up, Soul Blight. This was another one that feels like it's in the genre of upgraded Flash game. So, a top-down environment, kind of a stealth game where you collect loot and stuff. but the top-down perspective combined with the art style made it kind of hard to tell what was going on a lot of the time. That part was cool with these like moving bridge segments. That looked neat, at least. But for the rest of the game, I was just kind of like, no, I didn't really care what was going on. And eventually, I had to stop playing this game because I encountered a like game-breaking glitch, and I hit a point where like I was locked in combat with an enemy, and I had no way to like do anything, and all I could really do was just wait for the enemy to slowly kill me, because I think it was like I accidentally initiated dialogue with an NPC at the same time I was initiating combat, and so we're just like, I don't know, this is it right here. I was somehow completely powerless and just had to wait for the enemy to whittle down my health. Like, none of my buttons did anything at that point. My next one. This is a Spring Falls. And now don't get me wrong on this one, it is certainly no Necro Worm. It is no Soul Blight. It is no Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments. It's a perfectly serviceable puzzle game. It's got a nice, calming atmosphere. It knows exactly what it's trying to be, and it does what it sets out to do. So you can't fault it too much for that. It might not be like anything to write home about, in my opinion, but yeah, for what they set out to do, I don't think they did anything too wrong with it. It's just, you're trying to connect pools of water to plant sprouts and make grass grow around them, and that's about it. You can raise and lower terrain to make that happen. And, it introduces some neat little twists on that. Like, in some levels, it's raining, so that causes water to continuously pool. So that was kind of a cool twist on the formula. And I've actually only got like 3 more games, I think, for this Unremarkables category. This is another one that I kind of feel a little bad putting into this category. Like, it was fine, honestly. You wander around and it's kind of a shoot 'em up with a bit of a rhythm element. Like, you would do more damage to enemies if you fired in rhythm to the music, which is a cool premise. The artwork could be very hit or miss. I thought the character portraits looked pretty good. The title screen looked better than anything else in the game. I don't think I captured a clip of that. But the in-game pixel art, I was just kind of like, it's whatever. It's, again, serviceable. It's getting the job done. I don't hate it. It's kind of neat how they had this, 3-color aesthetic, this color palette that they stuck with. That was a neat enough idea. I could not stand the dialogue. There was way too much of it. And eventually I was just kind of like, okay, skip. Just continue the game. But it was fine. I can't say too much of anything about that one. Next one. Got Welcome to Elk. This one, it's another adventure game. You wander around this town. You have dialogue with all the characters. Since there was an old mech game on the DS that had too much dialogue. Would you happen to be talking about Custom Robo? Because I played Custom Robo on the GameCube, and I liked it as a kid, but when I went and tried to replay it again, I was just sickened by the amount of dialogue in the game. I was just like, oh my god, I'm sick of these characters. Let me get back to the fun, robot combat gameplay. I felt that exact way about Custom Robo on the GameCube. But I did play all the way through it as a kid. Yeah, it had like really genuinely fun arena combat. But yeah. Anyway, back to Welcome to Elk on here. This one, well, I don't know. I don't know how much I can say about it. The art's pretty good in it. It's neat how like some things have color and some things don't. This mini game was one of the more horrifying things I've seen in a video game. Hated that part. Yeah, this is one of those where it makes an effort to have like fun and quirky dialogue, and most of the time the fun and quirkiness don't really reach the level they expected it to, I think. So it did not end up as like a very compelling game for me. And okay, next one, I'm pretty sure this is the final game to talk about in this set of game roulettes. This is called Wheels of Aurelia. This one, I almost made an unintentionally fun award category, because that's what this one would have gotten. It was very uninteresting gameplay in general. You don't have to control it in any way. This car just drives on its own. You can make it move left and right, but there's no reason to ever do so. All you could really do was press one button to cycle through dialogue options, or don't. You could just sit there and let the dialogue carry itself out. It ended up being unintentionally fun because, like I said, you can turn your car left and right. So it was fun to just smash into every car possible. There were no consequences for doing so. I was completely unengaged in the dialogue. And one thing, I went through a series of things that I tried to accomplish as the game was going on. Like, at one point, I tried to just continuously grind my car against one other car and, like, never let go of it. At another point, I just made sure that my character didn't engage in any of the dialogue options and just sat there silently, smashing into other cars like a psychopath and not responding to the passenger in the car, not acknowledging them in any way. So it was like unintentionally fun to just imagine this psychotic character doing completely irrational things in this car. I figured out much too late in the game that there's like a speed up button, which would have made it so much fun. I would have like speed run the game. But yeah, this was it. This was where I was trying to grind against a single car the entire time. So it's a game where you really had to make your own fun. Because if I was just playing this alone on my own time, I would have been like, I am not giving this game 5 minutes of my time. But I'm pretty sure that is the last one then. I'm going to look through my list one more time and make sure I've talked about every game. Let's see. There really were, like, I think close to 90 games this time. And I'm planning to do this again in another 6 months. So there will probably be another good 80 to 90 games, if not more, if I keep up the once a week schedule that I've been doing. And I'm already getting pretty tired tonight, so I'm not going to do an official game roulette after the awards here. I'm just going to finish looking through the list to make sure everything was covered. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. And so since I haven't done a game roulette yet this week, I'm not counting the awards show, I'm still going to do that at some point this week. Hopefully either tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, I'm going to call that the finishing point. Let's get those unremarkables off of there. I don't have any, like, finale to close the stream out on. I don't have a wheel to spin for next time. Let's just have a round of applause for all of the games, remarkable or unremarkable. There we go, there we go. Wow, how nice. All right. And let's have a round of applause for everybody in the audience tonight. You've earned it. Okay. All right. So I guess I'm about finished then. Not much left to do now, but wish everybody a good night. See you on the next stream when I plan to actually do another game roulette of the games that you see on the lineup there. Look forward to that. Thanks for participating in this awards ceremony. It would be fun if, like, at some point in the future I have enough of an audience that I can have, like, the audience vote on what the awards should be. And then I could have, like, the audience awards versus my personal awards. Like, my absolute, like, ultimate dream would be, like, if some game developer actually puts, like, winner in Truth's Game Roulette Awards of this category, like, on their Steam store page or something. Like, if that ever happened, then I would be like, all right, game roulette as a genre has peaked. But yep, until that day, I am done for the night. Wish you all a good evening. See you in a couple of days, and until then, remember to stay hydrated, just like me.